Nami has a devil fruit, and not just any old fictional fruit, but the Goro Goro no Mi, the lightning Logia used by God Enel. But not in this universe, because this is not our Nami. Nor is it this Nami, or this Nami, or this Nami. No, wait, that one actually is ours. Look, just give me a break, they're hard to keep track of. Because Eiichiro Oda has created an entire canonical Nami-verse to explore. In one universe, she's a plucky, scheming secretary to the superhero Chopper Man, whilst in another, she's a murdering maid under investigation by the great Detective Looms. But in my personal favorite Nami universe, she adopts Zoro's dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman, taking on his 3 blades as well. You can really tell that Oda loves drawing Nami because we have a lot of them to get through here. We of course have Prime Nami, the seductive thief we all know and love, but unlike Luffy and Zoro, it took Oda a bit more time to truly discover Nami. In fact, here is the Romance Dawn version 1 universe. Her name is Silk, but many just refer to her as Blonde Nami. And there's a lot of core Nami character traits that Oda planted within Silk. One is that Silk was abandoned by her parents, who were pirates, and as a result, Silk hates pirates. Much like Nami did. Although in the actual One Piece, Oda ended up flipping the script by having Nami's mother be a marine, a very nice, caring marine. Silk was also obsessed with treasure, but considered her town her treasure, much like Nami did with Kokoyashi Village. Now, realistically, in the manga, Silk is basically a reskin of Nami, or I guess more accurately, Nami is a reskin of Silk. But in 2008, Toei animated Romance Dawn version 1 and purposely gave Silk a much less Nami-like design. I suppose to try and establish her as her own character. Do not let the anime screenshots fool you, she is very Nami-like in the manga. And in this universe, it's unknown whether or not Silk ultimately joined Luffy's crew. Luffy initially set sail without her, but in the flash forward to adult Luffy, we see a woman in a bandana who could very much be Silk. It's hard to tell because early on, Oda really only had one template for drawing women, so discerning who is and who isn't Nami in pre-One Piece material is a bit tricky. Which takes us to the Romance Dawn version 2 universe, where we meet Anne, also known as Blue Nami. Anne is much closer to the Nami that we would come to know, both in terms of aesthetics, because you can see that Oda found the haircut and the sort of general style he wanted, but also in terms of personality. Anne is much more hot-tempered and generally yelly when it comes to Luffy, whereas Silk was considerably more tolerant. Anne was also very aware of her looks, going so far as to assume that she was captured because she was cute. However, Anne doesn't seem to have any real hatred towards pirates, as Silk did and Nami would go on to do. Anne was very accepting of Luffy right off the bat, but otherwise, Anne is quite a mysterious character. Oda didn't really delve into her history at all. In the story, Luffy rescues Anne from a spellcaster because literal magic exists in Romance Dawn version 2, and she also has a panda bird friend, kind of like a Vivi Karoo relationship, and we also leave Anne on an ambiguous note. Luffy sets sail and Anne flies away, but in opposite directions. She may or may not have become a member of his crew, which is interesting because by this time we knew that the Nami character was going to be a Straw Hat. At this stage, Oda had already planned the crew all the way up to the Jinbei character. But moving to a One Piece adjacent universe, we have Cross Epoch, where Nami has partnered up with Bulma from Dragon Ball, forming a duo of fearsome space pirates. Although in stark contrast to actual One Piece, Nami is the more reasonable of the two. Nami is the calm, level-headed one, with Bulma having surprisingly violent tendencies. There's legit a moment where Nami's like, hey, that's a pirate flag, and Bulma says, yep, shoot it down. Bulma is scary, and Nami is pretty tame. Although in their quest for cash monies, we do learn that the official currency of this fusion universe is the Dragon Ball Zeni. Now here's a more, or I guess less, less violent Nami universe. The One Piece novel Heroine's World is a 9-chapter book released in parts with One Piece magazine, and each chapter focuses on one heroine from the series. The Heroine's universe is very similar to the Prime universe. It's just one step closer to our reality as readers. And Nami's story is all about shoes, as well as a deep dive commentary into the fashion industry. Essentially, Nami visits a super high-class shoe store and meets a girl named Miuccia, who's at a bit of a crossroads in life. She's more concerned with the comfort of her customers. However, her boss, a world-renowned fashion designer, cares only about the fashions. So they have a nice, heartfelt girl chat, and Nami encourages Miuccia to quit and start her own brand, which is lovely until it's heavily implied that Nami robbed the store, but Miuccia decides to keep that a bit of a secret to herself. And continuing with the trending happy endings, Nami has 2 more universes that exist in the future. In her good timeline world, Nami becomes a bit of a cougar at age 40, having taken up a career of flirting with people and then telling them to come back when they are, quote, an adult. Pretty sure there's a word for that, starts with G and ends in rooming. And by age 60, nothing noticeable about Nami has changed except for her style. Nami appears to be eternally youthful, which is also known as the Shaki effect. However, the genetics of bad timeline Nami were not so lucky. In the Dark universe, Nami gradually goes downhill mentally, physically, and spiritually, resorting to robbing people again. But when she no longer has the energy to do even that, Nami starts scamming people by selling them alleged magical pots. Although one interesting thing to note is that bad timeline timeline, Nami still has her altered tattoo. So even in this world, she was saved by Luffy. So whatever catastrophic event happened to the Straw Hats occurred after that. So I guess it's nice to know that even in the worst possible world, Nami still gets freed from Arlong. Meanwhile, in the Boss Universe realm, Onami owns a restaurant with Sanji called the Pinwheel in a reference to Genzo. But of all of the Straw Hats, she's definitely on the more underutilized side of this universe. So there's not a whole lot to say about Onami, other than she hires Vivi as a waitress at some point. This is where the mundanity ends though, because we are now stepping into the secondary universes where things start to get just a little bit very insane. Such as the much more interesting Japanese history themed Ed Sullivan Show universe. Here, Namimitsu is the daughter of Shogun Luffy-nobi, thus making her full name Gomukawa Namimitsu. But just as she did in the Prime universe, Namimitsu would go on to betray Luffy-nobi. Namimitsu's allegiances lie outside of the Gomukawa shogunate, and when the champion of the people, Usukawa Goemon, is captured, it's actually Princess Namimitsu who orders his escape. Later on, she also begs Usukawa to take her as his apprentice, very much desiring to learn the ways of becoming a master thief. So this is quite a rare universe, one where Nami follows Usopp instead of Luffy. For a more wholesome family story, here's Nanimi from the Family Time universe. She's a 4th grader and the second youngest member of a now biologically related Straw Hat family. Namimi loves 3 things: maths, science, and money. And also family, so it's 4 things. In fact, Namimi is revealed to be the narrator of the whole story, which ends with her saying a heartfelt goodbye to her family, as today is her wedding day and she is set to marry none other than Bon Clay. However, it's swiftly revealed that this is all Namimi's dream. And also Buggyama from next door makes an appearance, because there's a crazy amount of alternate universe buggies as well. However, cut to the Report Time world where Nami, in a candid documentary, asserts that the crew would be nowhere without her, which is literally true. She is the navigator, although this isn't Nami's reasoning. It's because before Sanji, Nami planned and prepared all of the food to keep everyone alive, which is a debt that Nami one day plans on collecting. To which the reporter states that he does not have the words to describe her evil smile, and thus names Nami the Wicked One. So apparently, he did have the words. And Nami being bad or outright evil is a common trend in the alternate universes, such as the No Honor Time world, where Namimore murders Don Sanjino on the orders of Don Zorosia, but later on gets herself killed. Not by anyone, but because she raided the Sanjino vault, saw all of the gold, and then died of happiness. This isn't even the only world where Nami flat out murders someone though. We also have Namiron Stone, who exists in Victorian-era London, and is a major suspect in Detective Looms' murder case. Namiron was a maid at the mansion owned by the victim, and even admits that she has killed many people for money in the past. There's also another key motive, which is that the victim was always asking to see her panties. Suspicious, very suspicious. So she seems very guilty, but then again, so does literally everyone else in this world. This is a universe where seemingly all of the Straw Hats have murdered at least one person in the past. And Namiron herself is based on Sharon Stone and her character of Catherine Trammell from Basic Instinct. However, the deadliest Nami is no doubt Santoryu Nami, which was drawn by Oda as a response to the idea of what if Nami was trained in Zoro's techniques. Assumedly, in this universe, Zoro would be the navigator, which is equally, if not significantly more terrifying. But this Nami was quite the hit, so popular that multiple figurines were made and sold. And then in true Nami style, I imagine she's planning on taking a cut of those profits, because it doesn't really seem to matter which Nami it is, there's always a financial focus. Such as Namijima from Obahan Time, who was the landlord of a set of properties all inhabited by little old lady versions of the Straw Hats. Although this world was created purely because of a passing thought Eiichiro Oda had one day, which was, if the Straw Hats were all old women, who would be the most powerful? And his ultimate answer to that question was Nami, which shows that even though the author himself power scales One Piece, he does so under very different conditions to how the rest of us do. Next we have Namie, an entrepreneur from Class 3AC Time, and her business model is this. Namie wears deliberately short skirts to class, and then charges 100,000 berries to anyone who happens to see her panties. Namie gets told off by her teacher Paulie, much like in the Prime universe, but also her nickname is the Electric Shock Bully, so that gives you a bit of a picture of what happens if people don't pay. And One Piece School Universe Nami is quite similar, albeit much more friendly, and willing to provide all of the information to new student Koby. However, she does charge a modest fee for these services. For example, after getting into a fight, Nami very kindly provides towels for Luffy and Koby, and then leaves them with a 5,000 berry bill. But we're going to leave Nami as we know her behind and step into the truly scary world of the tertiary universes. Starting with Nemifia, the quote, lovely assistant of Chopper Man. She's a blend of Nami and Califa that was created around the Enisobi time, but other than Chopper, she's really the only other Straw Hat who's a good guy in this universe, although she's not a particularly helpful protagonist, having sold their valuable Luffy bomber, which then went on to be the direct cause of ever so many problems. Again, money appears to be the cause of and solution to all of Nami's problems. Even in the Monster Time universe, Straw Nami is a mermaid fixated on protecting her precious underwater treasures. And a fun thing to note is that Straw Nami is the first mermaid to appear in the series other than Kokoro, who doesn't count because Zoro erased her from his memory. On the flip side, we also have a Nami who tames monsters. In Circus Time, Nama was a beast tamer in Usoglia's circus troupe, and it's kind of her fault that the whole thing falls apart. She reminds the lion Lugao that he wanted to become a circus king, which he goes on to do by performing the impossible trick, bringing Namo to tears and making her temporarily forget about being cruel to all of the beasts. So it's a sort of happy ending, maybe. But also, Nami and her evilness only gets amped up further. In Martian Time, Queen Nami is the wicked stepmother of Zoro White, who spends her days locked in a castle speaking to her creepy mirror and repeatedly asking it who is the prettiest of all. TLDR though, Queen Nami poisons Zoro White with apples, Zoro White dies, and assumedly, Queen Nami lives happily ever after. A nice fairy tale ending. But even so, there may be a better candidate for the most evil possible Nami, which is Demon Priestess Nami, taking the occult to new extremes in the RPG Time universe. She's one of Demon King Brook's 4 most trusted officers of evil, with each of the 4 generals having a specific aspect of evil they wish to pursue, and in Nami's case, that evil is money and tangerines. Evil tangerines. But as the heroes fail to get their shit together, Demon Priestess Nami simply waits impatiently whilst reading a newspaper. So I guess this is yet another universe where bad Nami lives happily ever after. However, the most wild alternate universe Nami design is based off Boltons from Ultraman. This is Namitan, a Namitanian from the planet Namitan. Her home world was in danger of being destroyed by an octopus-shaped asteroid, and so she put out an SOS call, one which Mugiwara Man responded to. Mugiwara Man does save the planet, and Namitan teaches the readers how to speak Spaceese, which is basically speaking whatever language it is you already speak, but with your lower jaw stuck out as far as it will go. And that's why everyone in this universe looks like this. But now it's time for us to look beyond, to the universes that break the very bounds of fiction, starting with the good old woodblock print universe depicting an alternate Wano. Here, Nami spends a lot of time checking out a kimono, however becomes very invested in ridding the country of a legendary Nue after a reward is promised. This is because the Nue is haunting a mansion that is supposed to house a wedding ceremony. Could have just picked another wedding venue, but okay. Shenaniganry ensues, and Nami leaves Wano without the reward as usual. Meanwhile, in the unexpectedly successful live-action universe, Nami is played by Emily Rudd, whose performance brings a lot of core humanity to Nami, favoring her empathetic traits and dimming down a lot of the over-the-top Nami from the manga. But our classic Nami is still very much present, such as when she seduced a balding Marine to steal his uniform, and he really should have known better because he was way out of his league, which is actually a good life lesson. If you're out of your league, don't play, because the game is probably fixed against you. But of course, here is the Hungry Days universe, one of my absolute favorites, and Nami is the star of the second cup noodle advertisement arc. Like her other main characters, Nami is a high school student, the most studious of her class actually, which includes Law, Carrot, Kobe, Gaimon, Koala, her husband in the dream of another universe, Bon Clay, and very specifically, Smoker in Toshigi's body and Toshigi in Smoker's body. And this Nami dreams of becoming a navigator, but she needs funds for her studies. So to make money, she works at a restaurant called Arlong Park, a very popular spot where you can see the original 3 admirals enjoying a pile of lobster. And it's run by a very human Arlong who always scolds Nami for being late. She's a dishwasher and really doesn't enjoy her job there, but she's slowly earning money to make her dream come true. This Nami also lost her mother Belmare, and whilst remembering this one day, Nami utters the word "save me" at school, after which point Hungry Days Luffy puts his hat on her and invites Nami to come and eat, to eat specifically cheese curry cup noodles. And now I'm hungry. So that's every Nami in the One Piece multiverse explained by a man on the internet.